Welcome back to the garage. We're going to start working on my Unicorn E39. Now, the first job has to do with something going on with the driver's seat. Let's take a look. And the problem resides in the seat back of the front seats. So when I first went through this car, I thought it was just the driver's seat that had a problem because I noticed the seat back was a little bit twisted. But after testing the passenger seat, it has the same problem going on. And this is very typical of E39s. And just check out this awesome sauce. So we're going to adjust the seat back. Look at that silly stuff. So the problem here is you have an electric motor in there that adjusts this back and forth, but each side has its own cable that attaches to the motor and attaches to the seat back to move it back and forth. And what's happened here is one of the cables is no longer connected to the motor, hence why one of the sides isn't adjusting and you get this twisting action. You can see the passenger seat has fallen to the same fate. So again, this car only has about 60,000 miles, so you can tell that it doesn't matter how many miles or how well kept an E39 is, this stuff just happens. This is very typical BMW electrical issues and little finicky mechanical systems inside of the interior that always seem to go wrong, but luckily, there's usually always a fix, and usually it's either free or very inexpensive. Now to repair this, an independent BMW shop, even the dealer, would probably charge you a hefty fee to get it fixed, but if you got some time on your hands, you can do it yourself for basically free. But the first thing you have to do is get the seats out of the car. Now you'll notice the interior of this car is very dirty, so removing the seats isn't exactly a bad idea anyways. It'll let me get out all those crumbs that have nested beneath the seats and on the seat rails and give this thing a thorough clean. Now the first thing I want to do is try and get the seat as level as possible, because once this is out of the car, we won't have power to adjust it through the motor. So just simply kind of eyeball it. All right, so this is as straight as I can get it. Now it's a matter of removing the bolts that hold the seat rail in so we can get it out of the car. Now that I've removed the front bolts, I just have to remove these ones in the back. And look at all that change right there. I might actually make money on this project after all. All right, so I've tilted the seat back. So as you can see, just laid it on its back. And the motor in question is right here. You can see this cable that feeds into it. So there's a cable that goes in from this side and a cable that goes in from this side, and it controls both sides of the seat back. Now to get to it, we just remove a couple bolts and that should slide out, and then we'll attack the sheathing that needs to be shortened. So it uses an 8mm. The bottom one's a little more tricky. Might have to get a box end wrench on that. Right, so that is the cable in question. So I'll just take a razor blade, cut off maybe ½ an inch there, and we should be good to go. One additional measure I'm going to take to hopefully prevent this sheath from sliding out of this coupler in the future is to also wrap it with some heat shrink. This is 3/8 inch heat shrink that should go over the top of that and secure to both the metal piece and this kind of rubbery plastic sheath and hold this in place. Make sure you slip this on first and then heat this up and slide it over. That is secured in place. While I'm in here, I'm going to go ahead and shorten the other side. Even though it does work, it's only a matter of time before that side slackens up too. It's a good thing I decided to do the other side as well, because look how much of the cable sticking out. But simple process, exact the same thing we did on the other side. Alright, so that's much better. Now to access this, you do need to remove or at least loosen this side pod so you can get your ratchet in there. It's actually easier to access the bolts on this side than it is on that side, just because you can stick the ratchet through one of these holes. Alright, that's that side put together. Now it's time to reattach this side pod and then just apply the same techniques to the passenger side seat. So just as I bolt the seat back into place, I realize I made a huge mistake. And that is because there are two sets of motors or two sets of cables you need to watch out for that go out of whack on these things. One is the seat back, which is what I fixed, but the other is the raising and lowering of the seat base itself. So check this out. It's twisting just like the seat back was. No. So that only means one thing. This has to come back out. Alright, so now here is the finished result. Seat back moves up and down like it should, and then the seat bottom like new. So you may have noticed the interior looks a lot cleaner than when I started this video, and yep, I have cleaned the interior, but I will get into that in the next video where I've got some tips and tricks on how to clean up leather that's really, really dirty. So overall, fixing the seats on one of these E39s isn't all that tough, especially after you do one, the other one's a cinch. I spent $0, but I did spend a decent amount of time figuring it all out. In the next video, we'll take on cleaning this interior. It is a mess. So until then, we'll see you guys again next time.